Hi, boys and girls. This lesson is going to be for 4th grade, and I will be going over the math homework number 18. So if you need help with math homework number 18, this is the right video for you to watch. So I am going to start with day 1. So if you look at day 1, day 1 is a division problem. You'll have to rewrite it. 454 divided by 5. Now, if you don't know your multiplication facts of 5, then you need to come over to the side and do a tic-tac-toe and count by 5s. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. Now once you've done that, then you can see, can 5 go into the number 4? And the answer is no. Can it go into 45? Then you have to look and see what number here is 45 or closest to 45 without going over. Well, if I look right here, I can see that there's a 45 right here. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 45 divided by 5 is 9. That was dividing. Now I'm going to multiply. 9 times 5 is 45. The next step is to subtract. 5 minus 5 is 0. 4 minus 4 is 0. And then I check. Is 5 greater than the zeros? And if your answer is yes, then you bring down the next number. Now, 5, will it go into 4? Well, if you look over here, there isn't a number here that is close to 4 or close to 5 without going over. So, no, 5 will not go into 4. So you write the number 0. 0 times 5 is 0. The next step is to subtract. 4 minus 0 is 4. Now check, is your number 5, the divisor, greater than this number? And the answer is yes. Then nothing else can be divided. This is your remainder. All right, let's look at the next problem for day 1. It's asking you to write less than, greater than, or equal to. So I have 5 6s and 4 5ths, which means you have to come up with a denominator that is the same for both of them. That is called the lowest common denominator. So you look at the two numbers and say, okay, I need to write multiples of 5 and multiples of 6. So let's start writing multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Now multiples of 6. 6. Now if you don't know your facts, then this is what you're going to have to count. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And I'm going to stop right there because I see that the lowest common denominator for 6 and 5 will be 30. Now, this is where you have to ask yourself, 6 times what equals 30? Well, if you forget, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 times 5 equals 30. And whatever you do to the denominator, you have to do to the numerator. 5 times 5 is, oh, you don't remember? Well, you can look at your multiplication tic-tac-toe that you did over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 5 is 25. Now, 5 times what equals 30? Well, if you look right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. So 6 times 4. Now, if you think, okay, I don't know what 6 times 4 is, then you are going to have to do a tic-tac-toe. But you can also look at this. This is 6, and you're going to count 4 places, 1, 2, 3, 4. So your answer is 6 times 4 is 24. Now, all I did was use this pattern because it's counting by 6s, and you can multiply 6 times 4. It's the same thing if I would have done 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that you have your denominators that are the same, now you can compare the numerators, 25 and 24. Which one is greater? All right, the next problem for day 1. It's 2/4 and 8/10. Again, you have to find the lowest common denominator. So, let's write multiples of 4 and multiples of 10. So if you have to, count on your fingers. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. And I'm going to stop right there because I know that when I'm counting by tens, my next number is going to be 10, 20. So my lowest common denominator is going to be 20. Now at this point, you have to stop and ask yourself, 4 times what gives me 20? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 times 5. So whatever I do on the bottom, I do on the top. 2 times 5 is 10. Now ask yourself, 10 times what equals 20? Use this if you have to. 1, 2. So 10 times 2 equals 20, which means 8 times 2 will give you something here. And 8 times 2 is 16. And now that your denominators are alike, you can compare the numerators. Which one is larger? All right, let's look at the first word problem for day 1. Jenny gets $25 a week to buy lunch at school. She spends $4 each day and saves the rest. Which expression can be used to find how much money Jenny, that should be Jenny, will save at the end of 5 days? So she gets $25 a week to buy lunch. So that's $25 a week that she gets for the whole week. And she spends $4 each day. So if she's buying lunch at school, she's going to school on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So each day she is spending $4. So you have to think, okay, 4 times 5, and that will give me the amount of money she's spending. And then I have to subtract that from the amount of money she gets. This is one way to find the answer. And you can multiply 4 times 5 is 20, and then subtract 25, and you get 5. Now it's not asking for the answer, it's asking for, it says, which expression can be used to find how much money. So if you find the answer, and let's say you don't know the expression, then you can try out the other ones. 4 times 5 plus 25. 4 times 5 is 20 plus 25. That's going to give you $45. It doesn't make sense for her to have $25, spend some money, and then end up with $45. The next one says 25 plus 5 minus 4. If I subtract 5 minus 4, I get 1. And add it to 25, I get 26. Again, if she starts out with $25 and she's spending $4 every day, it doesn't make sense to end up with $26. All right, let's look at day 2. Day 2, you have a multiplication problem. 48 times 74. Now, if you are having trouble multiplying 2 digits by 2 digits, I want you to break it apart by doing a grid and writing your first number and your second number in expanded form. So this would be 40 plus 80, and you don't have to write the plus sign here. And this would be 70 plus 4. So you're not really adding over here. I just wrote this down so you could see the expanded form. Now once you get this written out, then you can multiply. 4 times 7 is 28. And then you just carry over the zeros. 8 times 7 is 56. And carry over the zeros. 4 times 4 is 16, and bring down the 0. And 8 times 4 is 32. Now once you get to this part, then your job will be to add all your numbers. And the most important part here is to keep all your numbers lined up. Your ones with your ones, tens with your tens, hundreds and thousands. And then once you line them up, then you can add them. Let's look at the second problem for day 2. 3/5. I want you to compare to 3 6s. Again, your denominators are not the same, so you have to find the lowest common denominator so that you can compare your fractions. So you've got 5 and 6. Let's write the multiples of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Multiples of 6. Now, if you don't know your multiples of 6, which is your facts of 6, then you need to use your fingers and count. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And that's where I stop because I see the first set of numbers that they have in common, which will be their lowest one. So I write it here for my new fraction. And then you have to ask yourself, 5 times what is equal to 30? 5 times 6 is equal to 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And whenever you multiply for the denominator, you have to multiply for the numerator. 3 times 6 will go here. Now, if you don't know your multiplication facts of 3, then you will have to write a tic-tac-toe. 3, count by 3s, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and there's 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 times 3 is 18. Now, the same thing over here. 6 times what is equal to 30? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And whatever you do on the bottom, you have to do on the top. 3 times 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, is 15. And now that you have your denominators alike, now that the denominators are alike, you can compare the numerators. Let's look at the next problem for day 2. If 34 times 2 is equal to 68, what does 34 times 20? So what they've done here is multiply 34 times 2 is 68. So again, 34 times 2 is 68, and you simply carry that 0 over. And if you're not comfortable doing that, you can break it apart. 30 plus 4, 20 plus 0. And multiply this way and add up your numbers. You'll come up with the same thing. Let's look at the last problem on day 2. Teresa buys 1/4 yard of material to make a pillow. Which fraction is equivalent to 1/4? So they want something that is equal to 1/4. So I'm going to take A and check that one. 4/8. I need to make sure that these fractions are the same. They have the same denominator. So I know that 8 is a good common denominator. So 4 times 2 is equal to 8, and whatever I multiply on the bottom, I do on the top. 2 times 1 is 2. And then 1 times 8 is 8. 4 times 1 is 4. So 2 8s and 4 8s are not the same. So I need to try the next one. 1/4 and 3 8s. All right, so again, I'm going to use the 8 as my lowest common denominator. 4 times 2 is equal to 8. 1 times 2 is equal to 2. 8 times 1 is equal to 8. 3 times 1 is equal to 3. 3 8 is not equal to 3. 2 8 is not equal to 3 8. So that cannot be my answer. So now I'm going to compare it to the fraction that is by letter C, 2 8. Again, I'm going to do the same thing. 4 times what equals 8? That would be 2. So 1 times 2 is equal to 2. And then 8 times 1 is 8. And 1 times 2 is 2. And those fractions are equal or equivalent. So you see how I took every fraction and compared it to the fraction they gave me until I got one that was the same. All right, let's look at day 3. Day 3 is a division problem. 336 divided by 4. So right here you are going to need your multiplication facts of 4. So start counting by 4. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. And 40 plus 4 is 44, 45, 46, 47, 48. Now the easiest thing to do is to memorize your multiplication facts of 4. But if you haven't, then you need to write it out. 4 will not go into 3, but 4 will go into 33. So look for the number that is closest to 33 without going over. And that would be the number 32. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 4 will go into 33 8 times. And now it's time to multiply. 8 times 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, is 32. 3 minus 2 is 1. Now, 4 is greater than 1, so now I can bring down the next number. 4 will go into 16. Look for the 16 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 times. 4 times 4 is 16. I subtract and get 0. I have no remainder for this problem. All right, the next problem for day 3, we're comparing fractions again. 5 sixes and 10 12s. Before you compare these fractions, you have to make sure your denominators are the same. So start by counting or finding the multiples of 6 and 12. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I can stop right there because I've already found the very first number they have in common. 12 and 12. And now 6 times what equals 12? 1, 2. So whatever I do on the bottom, I have to do to the top. 5 times 2 is equal to 10. 12 times what is equal to 12? 1. 10 times 1 is 10. And now you can compare your fractions. The next problem on day 3 is also comparing fractions. 7 eighths and 3 fifths. So again, you have to find the lowest common denominator. So start counting by 5s and by 8s until you find the lowest common denominator. 15, 20, 25, 30, 8 plus 8 is 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. And even though I haven't gotten to 40 here, let's see, I know that if I keep going on my 5s, the next one is 35 and the next one is 40. So my lowest common denominator for this problem would be 40. And then you have to multiply both sets of numbers so that you can compare. All right, the word problem on day 3. Trey picked 72 apples at the orchard. He plans to give all the apples away to 8 friends. How many apples will each friend get? So if he has 72 apples, these are all his apples right here. And he has 8 friends. Friend number 1, friend number 2, friend number 3, friend number 4, friend number 5, friend number 6, friend number 7, friend number 8. Then he is going to equally distribute. He is going to give each friend an equal amount of apples. So right here, we're going to take 72 and divide it by 8. So this would be a great time for you to see if you know your multiplication facts of 8. If you don't, then you will have to make your multiplication chart of 8s. All right, let's go to day 4. Day 4, the first problem is 63 times 49. You can either write it this way and solve it, or make a grid and write it in expanded form. 60 plus 3, 40 plus 9. The second problem for day 4 is comparison. Comparing fractions. 4/4 and 1/1. Before you compare, you need to make sure your denominators are the same. Let's look at the problem, the word problem for day 4. Lisa's school has 345 students. If all the students are separated into 5 equal groups, how many are in each group? So the whole school has 345 students. Okay? So from here to here, we have 45 students. And they are going to divide these students into 5 equal groups. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4, and Group 5. So if you're going to take these students and equally put them into 5 groups, think about what you are going to do. The next problem for day 4, Maggie is comparing fractions. Which of her comparisons is correct? So I'm going to start with the first one, 1/3, and she says that is less than 1/6. So before I decide if that's the correct one, I have to make sure that I have the lowest common denominators. 3 and 6 are not alike, so I need to find those. 3 and 6. 3, 6. Lowest common denominator is 6. Time to ask. 3 times what equals 6? And whatever you multiply on the bottom, you multiply on the top. 6 times 1 equals 6, so 1 times 1 equals 1. Is 2 6s less than 1/6? No, it is not. So that fraction is not correct. So you would do the same thing to B, C, and D until you find the fractions that are compared correctly. Now let's look at day 5. Day 5 is a division problem. 878 divided by 7. You will need to know your multiplication facts of 7. If you don't, then you need to do a tic-tac-toe and write your multiples of 7. The next problem for day 5, comparing two fractions, 5/12 and 1/2. Again, you need to find the lowest common denominator. So you start counting by 2s and counting by 12s. And then let's look at the next problem. The next problem on day 5 is 7/10 and 11/12. Again, your denominators have to be the same. So you have to find the lowest common denominator. So counting by 10s and counting by 12s. Now let's look at the last word problem on day 5. Sue and Eddie combined all their pennies. Sue had 213 pennies and Eddie had 468 pennies. How many pennies did they have in all? So we have Sue's pennies right here, and she had 213, and Eddie has 468 pennies. And they want to know, the question says, how many pennies did they have in all? So you need to figure out a way to see how many pennies they have from this side, from here, all the way to here. The total number of pennies. All right, that is the review or the help for 4th grade homework number 18. If you still need more help after going through this video and you are one of my students, then you may come to tutorials on Tuesday, Wednesdays, or Thursdays at 7:30 in the morning. But I'm hoping that this helped you. All right. See you tomorrow.